Hey Yins, it's Megan with a wonderful event here in Pittsburgh that we think you should know about. The Pittsburgh Recovery Walk honors everyone's personal experience with addiction and recovery. No matter your path or where you are on it day to day, the 8th annual walk is here to celebrate you. It's free Saturday, September 16th from 9 a.m. to 1 p.m. Organizers would love to know that you're coming, but registration is not required. Check the live stream or come on downtown for food trucks, a parade, a huge resource fair, a keynote speech, and more. Find all the details at pghrecoverywalk.org. Today on CityCast Pittsburgh. Just a few shows ago, we were laughing among our team about the passing of Labor Day and whether it means anything anymore if people are already buying their Halloween candy and getting their pumpkin spice fix, even if it's still got to be over ice. But you know what? The city has its eye even further out because officials are on the hunt right now for our next enormous Christmas tree. I'm with Bobby Cherry, the cheeriest local holiday enthusiast that I know. It's Monday, September 11th. I'm Megan Harris, and here's what Pittsburgh is talking about. So September feels pretty early, Bobby, to start talking about Christmas. I feel like most of the focus is on Halloween. And some people even think that that is premature. Why are you thinking about Christmas and the holiday season right now?
I mean, I don't think it's premature. I had a pint of peppermint ice cream the other night while watching a Christmas movie on Hallmark. So I am all in all the time. It's not a season for me. It's a lifestyle. It's something that I've just sort of enjoyed my entire life. Every day of the year, I think about Christmas. So even if it's 92 degrees outside.
Which the past week really gave you a challenge on that one. Well, and I guess you're not alone, too, because the city is thinking about its Christmas celebration. We just found out that they're looking for their new Christmas tree.
Yeah, it's pretty exciting. The tree sits on the portico of the City County building on Grant Street, and it is a pretty iconic Christmas tree if you've ever passed it.
It's enormous.
It is. It's at least 40 feet tall and huge, and it's always decorated with these amazingly large ornaments that signify all of the city neighborhoods and a bunch of other ornaments that children make and that are decorated on the tree. But it's been up for almost 110 years now, and it is just one of the most magnificent pieces of Pittsburgh's Christmas history.
Yeah, I didn't realize that it's actually one of the city's oldest Christmas traditions, apparently. The first tree went up in 1914 when the building was still a construction site. How cool is that?
I was going to say, it was the tree tradition is actually older than the building that it's with now. A couple of years ago, I got to actually be there when they brought a tree in.
Oh, I remember, Bobby. Actually, let's back up here and talk about your Christmas credentials. In addition to being the ultimate fanboy, you also have a blog. It's Christmas365.com, dedicated to celebrating Christmas in Pittsburgh and nearby all year round. And then that trip a couple years ago, you and I don't think I was still there. You were still working at the Trib, and you went down to watch the tree installation on your off time and Facebook Lived it. It was like watching hyper-local Macy's parade coverage.
It was pretty epic. We kept getting updates from the public works crew who was with the tree as to like where it was. I think it was on Route 28 at that point. And they kept providing updates as to how close it was. And then when it arrived, like throngs of people on a Saturday morning were on Grant Street watching this tree be lifted off of the truck bed and hoisted into the air. And I've never seen that. You said Macy's Parade. I felt like I was, there, Rockefeller Center, like watching. It's our Rockefeller Center tree, so that's really what I felt like watching this tree go up. But it's such a piece of Pittsburgh's history, just like the Horns tree, which gets so much coverage, down on the old Horns building.
Yeah, that's the one that's like wrapped on the corner of a building really close to where a lot of people park if you're like going to Point State Park, that kind of thing.
Yeah, and that of course is like such an iconic tree. But really the city county building tree on Grant is so magical at night. So one of my favorite things to do is I don't care how far out of my path I have to go, but at like 10 o'clock at night, 11 o'clock at night, if I'm coming home from somewhere, I will purposely drive Grant Street and slow drive past it because like there's lights twinkling and there's sometimes music playing, and it's such an awesome scene when the nobody is around. It's a Christmas feeling that I get every time I do it.
So good. Bobby's willing to drive through downtown, not on purpose. Like, he doesn't need to be there. It's great.
Like I could be like in Robinson and be like, I want to go see this tree. So
Well, so the tree itself usually goes up at the city county building in early November. Why do you think that Public Works needs 3 months to find this thing?
yeah, so from what I've understood when I talked with folks about it, a couple years back, and just sort of what I know, they look for a specific tree that's got to be at least 40 feet tall. And I know they always have trees in mind where they're hoping that someday this tree can work, maybe as a tree grows or whatnot.
Oh, so they're scouting years in advance.
They have scouted in the past to find trees that may work in the future. And so they've got to get the right tree and make sure it's healthy enough to last, to stand there for all of that time. And then of course, here's a secret that no one really, I don't think knows, but sometimes they add filler to the back of the tree.
What? Oh, they fake it.
They kind of fake it.
They give it extensions.
They do, and I learned that the Rock Center tree in New York also has that happen. But they have to fill it in to make it look like a tree. Not every tree looks perfect like a plastic, fake tree you buy at the store.
Yeah, because I mean, this is a natural cut tree. It has to be an evergreen. I think they're open to different species. Is that right?
Yeah, they're open to different types, but it's gotta be an evergreen, and there's a lot of trees that just won't, I hate to say this, but they just won't cut it. Um, and so they need to find that perfect tree that can wrap the lights around, that can hang the ornaments, and maybe not have the branches sag, as much, with a lot of the ornaments that are on the tree. But then just watching it go up, it takes a lot of work to get that right and to make sure it doesn't fall. It's a 40-foot tree. Like, you don't want that falling into Grant Street.
I know. Just the logistics of watching them do it with the cranes and the bucket trucks is like a whole thing. It's kind of like a barn raising in a weird way. What's your favorite thing about kind of it going up and like what follows shortly thereafter?
Oh my gosh. So the gingerbread display competition moved to the city county building a couple years back. And so when you think about the Christmas tree, you walk up onto the portico, you get to look at all the lights, look at the ornaments, but then in the windows, right around there, they sometimes display some of the gingerbread houses that are part of that competition. And then inside in the grand lobby of that building is, where dozens and dozens of gingerbread houses are displayed. And they're not just houses, they're like, Pittsburgh bus in, pothole.
Oh, yeah, they're super creative.
Yeah, they're super Yinzer, it's amazing.
Yeah, you'll see everything from like a school building to a specific bus stop to like city infrastructure, all represented via gingerbread house. It's pretty fun.
It is. Even the tree at the city county building has been represented in gingerbread. And so when you think of that whole scenario, the tree, the lights, the ornaments, the music that's playing, the gingerbread houses inside, like it really is this like romanticized Christmas feeling, when you're down there. And so I think all of that collectively really just brings out the Grinchiest Grinch would have a smile on their face, down there with the tree and the gingerbread houses and that whole Christmas feeling right there.
Yeah, yeah. And I know Pittsburgh's had an interesting history with official holiday displays. There was a Supreme Court case back in 1989 about whether Allegheny County had to remove a creche. It's like an enormous nativity scene from the steps of the county courthouse. Bobby, can you kind of walk us through what the actual display is? Because you can still see it, just not at the courthouse anymore.
Yeah, so it's a very unique piece of Pittsburgh history, and the crash on Grant Street down a little bit, just a little bit from the city county building, at the USX Tower. I believe it is the only authorized replica of the crash in Vatican City. And so it came about because of a court case where a smaller crash was displayed on government public property, and there was a decision that was made that it had to be removed, and so it went down a couple blocks, and it is such an iconic piece of Pittsburgh's Christmas season. Was there one year when they kicked it off for that season, and just the number of people who come down to see that. I mean, if you've never seen it, it is almost a lifelike. You look at the people in the display and you just wonder, like, are they actors? Like, what is happening up there? Because it's so real looking. And I love watching kids. It's such a gigantic display that kids have to be on the back of their dads to like kind of see it. And so just looking at the kids' eyes, like, oh my gosh, look how cool this is. And you walk down from the Christmas tree up to the crush, and it's like, you've got a great Pittsburgh Christmas, Saturday afternoon.
Yeah. And that case was also about a menorah, too. And the court came to a different conclusion there. It said that the city could display the menorah alongside the Christmas tree at the city county building, that didn't violate the constitutional ban on government endorsing religion. So now they get to sit side by side downtown.
Yeah, and I actually learned some of that at the Heinz History Center, because every couple of years they do the Pittsburgh Christmas exhibit, and so they have a whole display. They had a whole display on that court case and scenario.
Yeah. Yeah. It's really interesting that Pittsburgh got to be at the center of some of those questions.
Sure was.
Hey Pittsburgh, it's Megan. If you're craving a delicious scoop on a hot summer day, get yourself up to Bakery Square. It's the new local home for Jenny's Ice Cream in Pittsburgh. I know, it's sort of sacrilegious here to love an Ohio brand this much, but y'all, I've been a Jenny's stan for years. Their flavors are so creative. The brown butter almond brittle, the brambleberry crisp, the darkish chocolate. They have dairy-free and gluten-free options too, and they'll be dropping new flavors every week now through August 10th. I am so stoked that I can finally get my from-scratch Jenny's Fix right here in Pittsburgh at Target, Whole Foods, even Giant Eagle. Find all their flavors and fun facts at Jenny's, that's JENIS.com. The Pittsburgh Citywide Task Force on Employee Ownership was created to help businesses in the Pittsburgh region thrive and grow by bringing the message of employee ownership and its benefits to 30,000 businesses in the area. The task force was formed in conjunction with the Pennsylvania Center for Employee Ownership, the Pittsburgh City Council, Heinz Endowments, Chatham University, and the University of Pittsburgh. Employee ownership is a business model and form of succession planning that benefits owners, workers, companies, and communities alike. Interested in learning more? The task force will be holding in-person informational sessions around the Pittsburgh region. To learn more about the task force or to sign up for an informational session, please visit pghbusiness.org. That's pghbusiness.org. Well, so the city's Christmas tree installation is just one holiday event that folks can look forward to. As the ultimate Christmas fanboy, I know you have lots of great recommendations. What are some of your favorite holiday events around town?
So my all-time favorite is Light Up Night, of course. Goes without saying. Always the Saturday before Thanksgiving. Used to be the Friday before Thanksgiving, but now it's the Saturday. All the trees get lit up. It's just a traditional, wonderful event. But the other one that I really, really, really love is Kennywood's Holiday Lights.
Yeah, I've heard about that, but I've never made it down. I know you are
Oh,
also a huge fan of Kennywood.
I love Kennywood all seasons. Maybe not so much in October. Sorry, Kenny Kangaroo. But the holiday lights, 2 million Christmas lights around the park, displays and rides are open. There was one Christmas Eve a couple years ago. I rode the Jackrabbit on Christmas Eve. Like, what kind of Yinzer experience is that? Like, 10-year-old Bobby would have like blown his mind if he knew that was going to be something that could happen someday. So Santa's there at Kennywood. Rick Seaback and a lot of other Pittsburgh icons sing, or no, they don't sing. They read the night before Christmas. 'Twas the night before Christmas,
Aw, yeah, that's cool.
and it is, just a magical time. It's a great way for anybody with younger kids who maybe they're like, oh, we don't want to go to Kennywood in the summertime. Holiday Lights is that great transition to get the kids in because the kiddie rides are open. There's the potato patch fries, of course.
Which feel a little cozier in the winter than they do in the summer. Those things sit heavy in the middle of July, you know?
I mean, I can eat them and then go on the Phantom, so that's fine. But
You're made of starter stuff, I think.
exactly. So, but sitting there Christmas time, snow's falling, you're eating potato patch fries, like that's so crazy, to do. So that's one of my favorites. Phipps is another favorite of mine.
Oh, it's always so beautiful. And they do a different one every year.
Yeah, the Holiday Magic Winter Flower Show and Light Garden. But one of my secret tips for that is and it's harder now because you have to do the ticketed arrangement where you have to, know when you want to go ahead of time. But I always encourage people to try to go when there's snow on the ground because the outdoor light garden looks so amazing.
Yeah,
With
it
just like
glows
a
in a different
glimmer.
way. Yeah, when it's
Yes.
bouncing off the white light.
Absolutely love that. And then another favorite of mine is the Steubenville Nutcracker Village over in Steubenville, Ohio. So if you've never heard of this, it's just a quick drive from the Pittsburgh airport, maybe 20 minutes, maybe half hour at most from the Pittsburgh airport. There's more than 150 like 5 or 6 foot tall nutcrackers that are carved and painted to look like superheroes and local legends and just cartoon characters and Steelers and different teams and whatnot. It's wild. It is so crazy to see that.
Yeah. Yeah, that sounds really cool. I think one of my favorites always, and I'm blowing up my own spot here because tickets can be really tough to snag, our Allegheny West Victorian Home Tour. It is always beautiful every year. You get to be nebby and go inside folks' houses and some of that part of the north side that has a lot of older homes, older architecture, and folks just really devoted to the Christmas spirit, literally top hat and tails for some of the guides.
I was going to say, have you been on that tour?
I have, yeah.
Oh, you're so lucky. I've not been able to get a ticket.
You'll have to add it to your holiday
I
bucket list.
know.
Are there any other events that you recommend for folks? We especially always love anything that you recommend that might be free to get folks in the spirit.
Yeah, one of my favorite freebies is small town light up nights. Just go up, Swickley, Mount Lebanon, Zealy and Opal, any of the small towns that we love. Beaver has a wonderful light up night, parades and light up Christmas trees, and then tag
Yeah,
that
because a
along.
lot of our little municipalities have their own light up night. Like there's the big Christmas one for Pittsburgh, but
Mhm.
they do them all over if you don't like the crowd of downtown.
Exactly. I mean, Cranberry has one, Oakmont and Aspinwall, and I mean, all sorts of towns. Greensburg has one. But then what I like to do with that is tag that along with driving through a neighborhood looking at Christmas lights. There are
Any
so many
favorites?
neighborhoods. I knew you were going to ask this question. So there is a couple favorites of mine. In Moon, there's a neighborhood. They actually do a light up like a judging contest where they will judge your displays. It's one of my favorites. And then there are a couple others as well. I'm gonna plug It's Christmas 365 because I'll have the full
Please.
list on that website for this year. But there are a couple others that go all out. with Christmas displays in the South Hills, in the North Hills, out in Westmoreland County.
And they do them different ways. Like some of them you can just go casually stroll through. A couple of them have like the radio tie-in where you can set your dial to like an AM channel and it'll like sing to you throughout the course of it or something. It's an interesting like collection of stuff. And I think there's one or two that still ask for donations, and it's usually like a set amount per car or something.
And then there's one in Ambridge where the whole, like, there's several houses on this block now that have gotten involved, and they ask for donations for a specific group and whatnot. But I do that. Actually, my mother and I will sometimes just hop in the car. I'll call her up and be like, "Hey, Mom, let's go look at Christmas lights," and that's what we do.
That's great. Bobby Cherry runs the blog. It's Christmas365.com. Bobby, thank you so much for joining us, and happy holidays.
Hey, happy holidays to you too in September. Good talking with you.
You too. That's all for today here on CityCast Pittsburgh. If you're liking the show, please rate us, leave us a nice review, and make sure you're subscribed to our Hey Pittsburgh newsletter. We'll be back tomorrow morning with more news from around the city. See you soon. Does Halloween even register for you? What are your plans?
As I texted you the other day, I'm in the process of hopefully buying a house. And I keep joking, saying I'm gonna turn the lights out and just watch Christmas movies that night. But I mean, like, I appreciate Halloween. I don't step on people's toes who love Halloween, but I'm a Hallmark movie watching guy on Halloween for sure.